No, it was the first graphic novel I'd read. And I read the script first of all, and then having read the graphic novel, was completely convinced that this would be the best job to do. It was just a gift to have all of that there, you know, all of that initial character development that you do on a role was already expertly done. And, you know, and so many, especially with this film, everyone, you know, it's very much about the appearance, and so and then what lies underneath. So all of that stuff was taken care of, the way people dress, you know, the particular things like that. So I found it, I was very grateful to have that there. There was so much brilliant source material, and then you kind of have to make it come alive, and that's your job.
Right, right. Was it different for you as actors to work in a film that was based on a graphic novel? To make it, in terms of the stylization of it?
I didn't really think about it as a graphic novel. I took it as I didn't know what it was, or and I had never read it before. So I looked at it as a script as a whole, and the characters seemed to come to life, and I loved the part that I was possibly playing, and I ignored completely when I read the graphic novel how he was portrayed in it. Because I didn't really. I spoke with Stephen about how we wanted this person to look and come across, and actually it was rather grey, as drummers often are. I think they're the kind of hidden guy behind the drum kit that don't necessarily want to be the showman. So I think it was more exciting to make something much more colourful and almost a caricature, and develop something with a very distinctive look. So it was lovely having it as a source material and understanding how Posey Simmons saw this person, saw their objective in the piece itself and what their purpose was within the piece. But it was down to us, I think, to put our own input into it and make it how we felt they should be and how they should be put across.
And Moira wrote a beautiful screenplay, and basically that's what we referred to from the beginning, and the book was always so lovely to look at, but we were working from a beautiful screenplay that she'd brought to 3D.
Yeah. I mean, the tones, Stephen, are very, I mean, particularly in the last part of the movie, you're juggling radically different tones, and, you know, the audience is laughing the hardest when people are getting murdered.
Do you mean you laughed? Americans. Well, it was because the idea of a tragedy being told as a comedy was very satisfying. And indeed that it only became a tragedy because it was a comedy, in a sense. I thought that was what was so sort of brilliant about it, really. It was all the wrong way around.
Yeah.
Posey says that she nicked the kind of principal characters from 12th and Madding Crowd and sort of then massacred them.
Did she ever have a stab at writing the screenplay, or did you want from the start to have someone else?
I wasn't.
You weren't involved in that.
The script was written I mean, I didn't exist when the script was written, so that whatever struggles took place, which I don't think were very considerable. I don't think Posey wanted to write it for a minute. But what they were, you know, whether there were fights, I don't know. I just read a script. Thought, oh, this is great. What else do you do?
Do you tend to do a lot of takes, or is you?
No. I mean, you do it or I can hear when it's right.
Yeah.
You can hear conviction in people's voices. You can hear when the actors believe what they're saying, and you can hear the uncertainty. So you go on till it sounds right. If I said I worked with him, it would be a euphemism. Okay. He's a brilliant man. He's a very, very clever man. He reads films very, very cleverly. I would sort of sit there and grunt. That doesn't mean that's not very good, or that is good. I mean, it's really it's like being Neanderthal in his presence because he's such a clever man, and I don't know anything about music. So, the truth is, you do most of the things in films with your stomach. Really, it feels right, you know, or it seemed a good idea at the time. You do all that instinctively, and of course your intelligence is running in parallel with it. So, I'm really grateful that I have access to his brilliance. But one of his, not only is he a good composer, but he reads the films absolutely dazzlingly. You make a film, you take your life in your hands. I don't know what other people like. I do what, you know, the first person to please is myself, and then you trust that your instincts are the same as other people's. I mean, I just sit at home and read things and like them or dislike them. I say it's all largely unconscious, so if I've revealed myself as being something not having a very good character, I should be ashamed of myself. But that's what my unconscious has revealed. I don't sit there thinking about my career, so I guess all this stuff is going on underneath, and you just say, well, I like that. And then someone like you turns up and points out the unpleasant things you're doing.
He trusts his actors to do their job, I think. As Stephen said, he's kind of very humble, so he doesn't go on about it, but he's particular about who he casts. And I think that's where a lot of the magic happens, actually, because then, especially on this film, I felt like, everyone was so well cast, and then the relationships all worked as well, the relationships between the actors and therefore the characters. And so when you actually get on and do the scene, which we never rehearsed, it would just be quite a good scene, and then Stephen would instinctively just direct it if it wasn't working, and it just felt very, it just felt very natural, and.
So you're actually doing it for the first time with cameras rolling, with no rehearsal.
Yeah.
He whispers incoherent nonsense into your ears that you don't understand, but then for some reason it sinks in and something changes. But especially with doing something like this, which is a comedy and where you're taking massive risks in what you're doing, because ultimately you want to be funny and you could not be funny and therefore look like a fool. You have to feel extraordinarily comfortable and prepared to take a leap of faith and be as daring as you can and as colourful as you can with them. And there's certainly that atmosphere on set constantly. What is your method, Stephen? What's your method?
Hire the right person and shut up.
Man of few words. And it works.
And the casting process was very straightforward. That is to say, my casting director said, oh, you should use Dominic in that part, and I said, okay.
How did you find Bill Camp and
How did I find Bill?
Tamara? Yes.
My son, who's worked with Bill, lives in New York and is a theatre director, said, oh, you want Bill Camp? And Scott Rudin said, oh, he's the best actor in America who isn't in films. I said, okay. I never met him.
You didn't audition? He didn't audition? You just took him on there, say so?
Yeah, I think there was a Skyped phone call. But he was wonderful. Some days things go in your favour.
And Tamara Drewe is not an actress that we're familiar with in the U.S. She's quite wonderful.
Brilliant. She's just a wonderful, wonderful comic actress. Brilliant.
Yeah, but she grounds it in some real feeling.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, I knew that. First of all, I said to the producers, I can only make this if you let me get it right, as it were. And then I made sure that I could cast Roger Allam and Gemma and Tamsin before I agreed to make the film. In other words, I didn't want to be caught wanting to make a film and unable to find people. In this pleasant, green and pleasant land, underneath there are dark things working their way to the surface. I mean, that's familiar. I mean, I can see you couldn't tell a dark story in Hollywood. You know, it really is paradise and nothing mucky goes on. So it was getting the balance between the surface, which was beautiful, and the underneath, which was full of disgusting middle-aged men.
You do use panels, though, which are rather graphic novel-like, which I don't think have you ever done that before?
Book, wasn't it? That was my pathetic attempt to do a comic book, you know. I can see that Terry Gilliam would have done a lot more. The truth is, there are some directors, amongst whom I am one, who you really direct with your ear, and it's to do with pitch and what you can hear. And you get each bit the way you think is right, and then you see if together they spark each other off. So I don't know that I'm clever enough to sort of think it through. That should be like that. That should be like that. You just sort of do it, and all this nonsense that's in your head comes out. It's the unconscious school of filmmaking.
That was my biggest bugbear, actually, with Tamara. And it came to me, it was a revelation that, first of all, she just constantly needs to feel like somebody loves her, or she needs affection. And then when she sleeps with Nicholas repeatedly, it's because she loves the drama, and she's her own muse, and she uses everybody as her muse as well. And she dramatizes her life so she can write about it. And I think that it thrills her, and she gets caught up in it. I think there's two things that motivate Tamara. It's that and wanting to be cherished.
Do you think she thinks of herself as still having that other nose?
Yeah, she still feels the same inside. She's still the kind of awkward teenager and that's unsuccessful with men.
Yeah. Well, I think that comes through in your performance.
It just occurred to me, when I grew up, Cary Grant was always going off with Audrey Hepburn. But now that would be thought to be absolutely sort of disgusting. Humphrey Bogart was with Lauren Bacall. Absolutely, it occurs to me that I have a completely distorted view of young women and middle-aged men. Never worried me for a minute, but then that is what I grew up, that's what films were like after the war.
Well,
these old men and these dazzling girls.
But they still are in some ways.
Sorry?
They still are. I mean, there's still lots of middle-aged.
Yeah, but as Gemma
actors
says,
with younger
middle-aged
women.
man, ugh. But in the old days, it was middle-aged man, oh, great. I don't know why the world has changed, and it hasn't changed necessarily for the better.
Well, thank you all very much for coming out. Thank you so much for joining us.